Today we start a new season of White Sox baseball headed to Caminero Park. The Detroit Tigers once were in the same position that we were as the worst team in Major League Baseball, but they've built from the ground up, coming off a 94-win season in 2025. We're trying to be like them one day. Of course, we've still got a long ways to go in doing so. So, of course, the previous episode was the off-season. I'll leave a card at the top right of your screen in case you missed it. But to recap, we ended up going through a lot, and our roster looks very different to what it was in 2025. So we'll start with the Texas Rangers. They ended up winning the World Series, defeating the Phillies. And then from there, we met the off-season wheel with positive and mostly negative scenarios for us. We spun the wheel twice, and it was not kind either go-around. Trade request. A top 5 player on the team requests a trade. So we put our 5 highest-rated players with at least 3 years of MLB service on a wheel, and we dodged a bullet. We were this close to landing on Luis Robert. Not only would we have had to trade him, but we would have had to get less value since it is a public trade request. Instead, we landed on James Karinchak, who went to the Astros for Hayden Wesneski. The second spin essentially rigged the draft lottery. We would do the lottery twice, and whichever result was worse, we went with. But the first time, we ended up with the 7th pick anyway, which is the lowest possible place we could have gone. So we didn't even need to do a second one because we got that unlucky. As for free agency, I didn't want to be inactive. I wanted to make this team better, and I felt like Kyle Schwarber, while a lofty target, would be a good fit. In terms of players who were more likely, Willie Castro was the first name who came to mind. And then after him, I looked at Amed Rosario as well. Both of those guys, versatile middle infielders. Rosario's a good contact bat. Castro, a former All-Star, can play everywhere. But we didn't get lucky. We didn't sign Castro. He's going to Boston. The Red Sox really need a shortstop. And then Amed Rosario ended up with the Pittsburgh Pirates. As those guys signed, a lot of the other big fish flew off the board, including Vladimir Guerrero to the Dodgers, Framber Valdez to Arizona. The Orioles rotation looks really strong with Zach Gallen and Michael King, while the Phillies signed Kyle Tucker, meaning they didn't really have a need for a guy like Kyle Schwarber. And to my surprise, he ended up signing with us. A 3-year deal for nearly $19 million. We had to overpay a little bit, and there are imaginary options in the contract after the first 2 seasons, so if he plays well, he'll be able to hit the open market and potentially sign for more money. Sock it to me! Joe Ross is a White Sox, and apparently he's also a freak. I was focused on adding competent veterans, along with adding the right players who are in the wrong situations. A guy like Emmanuel Valdez, who was stuck in the minors, but is obviously a Major League caliber player. Jesus Sanchez apparently thinks he's an elephant, but $200,000 later, he ended up signing with us as we look to rejuvenate his career after a bad season last year with the Marlins. We drafted Cody Hosey and Enoli Paredes in the Rule 5 draft. We signed Andrew Monasterio as well, and then we made some more moves. DFA and Andrew Benintendi. We traded Andrew Vaughn to the Diamondbacks, and our biggest move was trading Bryce Wilson, selling high to the San Diego Padres for a talented B potential pitching prospect in Jagger Haynes. At the end of the last episode, I mentioned there were a few more things we're going to go over today, including international free agents, although I'm doing something a little bit differently with that this year in the sense that we're probably not going to do international free agents every season, because since I'm going to go through 10 seasons of this series at least, having international free agents every year kind of bottles it down because there would be too many good prospects circulating through baseball. So I'm thinking of doing it not every season, but every few years, maybe every other year, and this gives you more time, if you have not already, to submit an international free agent prospect down below in the Discord. While we are done making trades and have our team set up for the season, there are still a few other deals I want to go through across the big leagues that I didn't have time to do at the end of the episode, but we are going to take a look at them here. Red Sox fans are going to get mad at me for this first one, but it does make some sense. Roman Anthony is ready to go. He's competing to make the roster out of spring training. They have a lot of outfielders, and they don't really need Willie or Abreu. Keep in mind, he's not as good as he is in real life. Otherwise, I would obviously not be making this move. Abreu's a good hitter, 770 OPS, former Gold Glover, but through 2.5 seasons of big league play, his career WAR is barely over 1. It kind of feels like there's a little bit missing with him. He's going to go to the Royals, a team who needs a spark after a really disappointing season last year. The Royals have a logjam at catcher, and Carter Jensen, I feel like, is a player they can afford to trade away with Blake Mitchell and recently acquiring Henry Davis as the long-term succession plan for Salvador Perez. They're also going to give up Hunter Owen as well. Jensen's a big-time prospect. This is not a cheap trade for Kansas City, but they're getting 4 years of team control for Willy Abreu. It's not like he's going to be a free agent soon. Gabriel Moreno is coming off a bad 2025. He was the starter for the Diamondbacks going into the year. He got injured, and then when he got back healthy, he lost his job because Adrian Del Castillo was so good. He finished top 5 in the NL in WAR, while Moreno's the odd man out, with Del Castillo there, along with the fact that the Diamondbacks picked a catcher in the first round of the draft. So the Cubs feel like a good spot. Arizona's going to get back Miguel Amaya, who's going to be their new backup, and Michael Busch, who's coming off a disappointing 2025 but has shown flashes in the past. I like this deal for both sides. 2 players who need new changes of scenery. The Cubs have Moses Ballesteros, who's a really good catching prospect, but now they don't have to rush him. Casey Mize is on the last year of his deal, and I don't really feel like the Tigers need him that much. He has not started a full season's worth of games since 2022. That's 4 years now where he's pitched less than a full year's worth of games. So he's not going to be costing the Giants that much, but it gives him another guy to compete for his spot at the back of the rotation. Juan Bin Cho and John Michael Bertrand will be the return for the Tigers. Detroit's getting 2 solid prospects for a guy they don't need at all. And the Giants take a chance on a former number 1 pick. The Orioles have a logjam in their rotation. Now, they did lose Ryan Helsley and Eric Fedde in free agency, but they were very, very aggressive. They signed Zach Gallen. They signed Michael King. They brought back Zach Eflin. And I think a big reason for this is the struggles last year of Grayson Rodriguez. They're starting to run out of patience with him, but he's still a high upside pitcher with 4 years of control. So I found the perfect win-win trade with the Los Angeles Angels. Taylor Ward is another guy I had written down as a prime trade candidate. The Angels need starting pitching, so it makes sense, while Ward, who's on the last year of his deal expecting a payday, is coming off a huge season last year with a WAR at 4.4. The Orioles lost Cedric Mullins in free agency. He signed with the Astros. So this is their replacement, and this lineup now is probably the best in the AL. I didn't really think the Orioles could get much better after their 100-win season last year, but they did. Our final deal sees another impending free agent on the move. The Phillies are not looking to extend Alec Bohm, I don't think, especially with the impressive flashes that Aiden Miller showed in 40 games a year ago. They're ready for him to be the everyday third baseman. So Bohm is on the move to Cincinnati. The Reds are going to give up Connor Phillips. That's a good get for the Phillies. And then Jake Fraley as well. The Reds have a log jam in the outfield, but Philadelphia needs another. Even though they signed Kyle Tucker, keep in mind they also obviously lost Kyle Schwarber. Fraley, I believe, was on the Phillies in the Giants series last year. Obviously, he was with our team as well. He wasn't very good. But he had some strong seasons with Philadelphia, so now they're going to run it back. As for spring training, we're going to mix and match the lineups throughout. Pretty much everybody here is competing for a roster spot, though. I'd say other than like Luis Robert, Kyle Schwarber, and Brian Ramos, every position player has to play well if they want a starting spot or even a spot on the roster. And then pitching is the same. I think Drew Thorpe and Jonathan Cannon are the only guys safe in the rotation. Penn Murphy and Joe Ross are probably the only guaranteed spots in the bullpen. So that's only 6-7 guys total who are guaranteed to make this roster. We ended up going 11-15 through the 26 Cactus League spring training games. In terms of positive performers, Corey Julks was great. Andrew Monasterio gave us a very good first impression. Kyle Schwarber is ready to go for the new season. And then in terms of guys who were disappointing, Douglas Cato, I was hoping he'd put up some big numbers to try to make the team. Jesus Sanchez was quiet. Akil Baddoo was quite bad. Colson Montgomery struggled. Nick Maton struggled. Brian Ramos was a surprise. And then Edgar Caro wasn't too good either. As for the pitching, our notable performers included pretty much all of our notable relievers. It looks like the bullpen's going to be a lot better than last year. But unfortunately, I think the starting rotation is going to be a lot worse because pretty much all the guys who were competing for spots struggled. Hagen Smith, Davis Martin, Owen White, Bailey Falter, and Jairo Iriarte were all not good, and at least one or two of those guys is going to have a spot on the big league roster in the rotation. So this is what we're going to do in terms of call-ups and send-downs. Noah Schultz will make the opening day roster sort of out of default. He was solid, but everybody else who he was competing with was awful. Nonetheless, Schultz will make the big league team. Bailey Falter and Prelander Baroa will be the other two starters. We're kind of hoping for a Bryce Wilson thing with Baroa in the sense that he's a converted reliever, missed all of last year with Tommy John, but he had a solid spring. Davis Martin will be the long reliever, and everybody else will be sent down. Hagen Smith, I imagine, will be called up at some point this season. Jairo Iriarte, meanwhile, I think he has a lot to work on. He was in the majors for most of last season, but he wasn't all that good. He had a hard time staying healthy as well. Jagger Haynes and Wilkeman Gonzalez were both actually quite good, but I still think they could use another year or two to hone in on their craft. All of those relievers will make the final team. Matt Thaiss and Kyle Teel will be the catchers. I don't know exactly what the long-term plan is for Edgar Quero, but for now, he's going to go down to AAA. I think he's going to make his debut at some point this season, though. As for the infield, LeBlanc will make the team. All 4 third basemen will make the roster, and then some surprises at short. Colson Montgomery struggled, but we're going to have him start the year on the big league team. Brooks Baldwin will go down, Jacob Gonzalez will go down, and then maybe the biggest surprise, Nick Maton, who was pretty solid for us last year. But after the All-Star break, his numbers really dipped, and he did not have a very good spring. We're going to start him in AAA while Andrew Monasterio makes the roster. Corey Julks obviously will make the final roster. I was really hoping that he would make the opening day team last year, but he struggled in the spring. We brought him up in the summer, and then he got hurt, and he had less than 100 at-bats. Zach DeLoach will go down. Douglas Cato will go down. I think we're going to have him up hopefully at some point. And then another one of the bigger surprises, Akil Baddoo, who I thought going into this spring was as much of a lock as any of our top 10 or so guys. But as I said, there's only like 6 or 7 who were guaranteed roster spots, and he did not play well. Although I do think we will call him up probably at some point in April, whether it's an injury or somebody is struggling. So with that, we can set up our lineups to start the season. This is what it's going to look like against righties. We're going to have 6 everyday players: Rivera, Schwarber, Robert, Ramos, Teel, and Colson Montgomery. The other guys are mostly going to platoon, and then Matt Thaiss will be a regular bench bat, being the backup catcher behind Kyle Teel, but everybody else will be at least a platoon guy. Thorpe will obviously be the ace. He's joined by Schultz, Cannon, Falter, and Baroa in the rotation. Martin and Hayden Wisniewski will be our inning eaters. Joe Ross will be the main setup man, and then Penn Murphy, who was outstanding in the summer last year, he will be the closer once again. Our schedule to start the year is brutal here in April. We face off against the best pitcher in the league to start, Tarek Skubal with Detroit. 3 games in the Motor City, 3 games on the road against the Dodgers, 3 on the road against the Astros. All 3 of those teams won their divisions last year. They all won 90-plus games. I think the Dodgers had the least amount of wins of that trio. And then it doesn't get easier. Even though we're at home, we still have Detroit again, Minnesota, Boston, Milwaukee, Baltimore. Really, really hard schedule. And I think we're going to change it up a little bit this year in terms of the format. Instead of 6 regular season episodes, there's going to be 7. We're going to cut April in half. We're going to go through the first half of April today, and then the second half in the next episode. Since it's a new team, I want to get more big league games with our new guys. One more order of business, though, before we get started, and that is the wheel. We're going to do 2 wheel spins today, not just for our team, but for every team across the league. I don't know if I mentioned this in an episode or not, but at the beginning of seasons, I'm going to give every team a wheel spin, or I guess 2 in this case. I'm not going to show all 60 spins because, we would be here literally all day. But I did put all of the results in the description in case you're curious. The 2 players I picked for each team, I went with 1 position player and 1 pitcher. Basically the 2 X factors. If these guys play well, I think the team could be pretty good. And if the team underperforms, I would look at these 2 potentially as the reason why. For our team, I chose Luis Robert. We didn't give him a wheel spin last year, so I figured he kind of deserved one. And then Jonathan Cannon. We're going to give the other one too. He had some really good starts last year. He also had some really bad ones as well, but if he can be consistent, good or bad, I think that could strongly sway our team's season. I went through the comments. I added some ideas that I liked that you guys proposed, and again, I'm always looking to add more ideas to the wheel. We will start things off with Luis Robert. Keep in mind, for every team, I used this wheel for all 30 position players, so everybody who got a wheel spin across the league, I used the exact same wheels for, so it would be completely fair. For Luis Robert, we're going to land on boosted. Plus 15 boost to all hitting stats for the month. That's about as good of a spin as we could have asked for, so we're off to a really good start for Lou Bob. Now that brings us to Jonathan Cannon, and again, I used this same wheel For all 30 pitchers, I did a wheel spin for, again, so we could make it as completely fair as possible across the league. Let's see which one we end up landing for with Jonathan Cannon, and we will also land on Boosted. Plus 20 to all per 9 stats for the month. So we got about as lucky as possible. Both guys are going to have their ratings raised through March and all of April, which gets us through the next 2 episodes. Starting with Luis Robert, he goes in plus 15 for everything except for power against righties. He can only go plus 13 until he's a 99. His new rating is a 96. Bang! He looks good. I upped his potential as well. That way he doesn't start to regress. At the end of the month, I will push his potential back down to what it was. As for Jonathan Cannon, buckle up. He goes from a 74 all the way up to a 94. And again, his potential's an A. I will push it back down to where it was at the end of the month. So we have 2 studs on our team for the first, give or take, 25 games of the year. That's pretty exciting. We'll go over a few of the super notable results elsewhere. Jackson Holliday will be a 99 across the board for the Orioles' first 3 games of the year. One of the newer ones is a change of hitting philosophies, plus 20 contact, minus 20 power. Some players got the opposite of that. The Angels got boosted twice just like us. So Zach Neto, who had a bad season last year, is now a 93. And Grayson Rodriguez, who they just traded for, is a 99. As for some guys who went down, James Wood was one who's going to be down 20 for the next 10 games. Although, as we saw with Kyle Teal, that one might really impact him for the next month or so. The Astros got unlucky in terms of injuries. They landed on that for both Cedric Mullins and Christian Javier. But by far the most interesting results were the PED and steroid suspensions. I don't think you can actually suspend players, so I just gave them injuries. Roman Anthony made the Red Sox roster, but he was juiced up during the spring, and he will miss the first 60 games. Ozzie Albies got caught. The Brewers are going into the year shorthanded, although Jackson Chorio's injury is completely unrelated to the wheel. But Bryce Terang, who was fantastic last year, 6.8 WAR, maybe this is why. He was using PEDs. Mitch Keller and Yoshinobu Yamamoto as well will be suspended. And at the end of these guys' suspensions, I'm going to give them a suspensions wheel. There's going to be 3 separate scenarios on it. There's going to be a chance their ratings are unchanged. There's going to be a chance their ratings go down because the steroids help them. And there's going to be a smaller chance their ratings go up. They still are using steroids, but they're doing a better job of not getting caught. The most interesting player here, though, was probably Bryce Wilson with the Padres. He got caught using PEDs. And this probably is why he was so good for us last year. So obviously the Padres are getting buyer's remorse about this. Thank goodness we traded him when we did. And now San Diego's kind of screwed because he was probably using PEDs with us a season ago. Only one pitcher ended up landing on the wheel of Tommy John, that being Oakland A's starter Osvaldo Bido. Now this doesn't guarantee he has Tommy John. So basically, he has to limit his innings here through the month of April. If he averages less innings per start in the month of April than he did last year, then he'll be fine. He'll be completely normal. There's no change. But if he averages more innings, then he's going to have to spin the wheel of Tommy John. 50% chance he gets the surgery and 50% chance he's totally fine. With that, we can now get our season started, opening things up in Detroit against the Tigers. I know that was a lot of stuff to go over. We've gone through pretty much all the necessary housekeeping stuff for this series since episode 1, and I think because of that, we're going to be able to get through the start of episodes a lot quicker now that we've laid everything out through the first 10 or so episodes. As we get things rolling here to start Season 2, we're hoping certainly for a better season than last year with all of the new additions we've made to this roster. In terms of the top projected players, I was pretty surprised to see the game thinks Douglas Cato is going to have a 5+ WAR. I mean, I don't really see that it's possible if he didn't even make the roster out of spring. I did some test simulations, and he never once finished close to a 5 WAR, even being on the Major League roster. So I feel like the expectation for him seems a little bit rich, considering he's an 18-year-old 6th-round draft pick. But, okay, fair enough. It'll be interesting to see how he does in the minors. As Tarik Skubal gets ready to take the mound for Detroit, we'll take a look at both lineups. The scariest thing, I think, for the White Sox is that Kyle Schwarber is playing in the outfield. He is a completely abysmal defender. I'm hoping he will not have to play in the outfield often, especially with probably one of Douglas Cato or Akil Baddoo getting called up at some point over the next month or so, but today he has to play in left. As for Tarik Skubal, the 2024 Cy Young winner was not much worse in 2025, finishing in second. He's a free agent after this season. Him and Garrett, Crochet, arguably the two best pitchers in the league, are probably going to make at least $350 million each this offseason as we get started with Corey Julks, who hits it well into left center, but it is caught by Riley Green for the first out of the inning. Julks hit that one well, though. He hits lefties sharp, a big reason why he is getting the start today. Here's a look at the White Sox lineup with projected averages for everybody, as that'll bring up the new kid on the block, Kyle Schwarber. His first at bat, he goes down looking on the low fastball. Good pitch there by Tarik Skubal for the second out of the inning. Luis Robert now, with his hitting stats boosted, splits that one past the first and second baseman for a single into right. We're probably going to get a huge month out of Lou Bob, just like we did during September last year. I'm excited to see his numbers at the end of April. They're probably going to be filthy with his power and contact, all at least 80 plus. Emmanuel Rivera goes down looking, and that'll wrap up the top of the first. Skubal allows a hit, but he strikes out a pair. A pretty good start for the former Cy Young winner. He's a Scott Boras client, which, if you're a Tigers fan, you're probably pretty worried about that storyline. Anyway, here is Drew Thorpe, the first-time All-Star from a year ago, making his first career opening day start. It was a pretty easy decision for us on who would get this honor this season. 2.41 ERA, 1.08 whip in his first full season as a big leaguer. Parker Meadows swinging a miss on the sweeper in the dirt. Kyle Teel in his first opening day makes the throw over to first base. Drew Thorpe was fantastic last year. We wanted to get him to a long-term extension, but we could not agree. Luis Rengifo, 6 years, $138 million contract signed in the offseason. Pops it up behind the plate. Teel makes the play. 1-2-3 inning for Drew Thorpe. A good start to his 2026. As Andrew Monasterio leads off the second, he draws a walk. Got good plate discipline. A big reason why I like him. Kyle Teel is up. Remember, he is a 15-game hitting streak that carries over from last season. Puts it on the ground. Could be 2. 6. 4. No, he is safe at first. It's a fielder's choice, so it doesn't count as a hit, but he does get on base. That'll bring up Bobby Dalbec. Showed some flashes last year. Gets plunked. A second base runner for the White Sox in a big spot for Colson Montgomery in his first at-bat of the year after a rough spring, and he draws a walk. Good take. Tarik Skubal does not have his best control right now, and the bases are loaded. How will we mismanage this? Julks bloops it into center. Meadows will make the play. It took us 2 innings, but we have already left them loaded. That was a weird inning because we got 3 guys on, technically 4 with the fielder's choice. None of them got on off of base hits, though. A walk, a fielder's choice, a hit by pitch, and another walk. That'll bring us to the bottom of the second. Luis Rengifo was the big signing for this team, but Eugenio Suarez comes over as well from the Diamondbacks. He singles into left. Suarez actually started his career in Detroit, played here very briefly back in 2014 before being traded to the Reds. Spencer Torkelson goes down on the slider, and Thorpe gets through the inning. He's looked good so far, only allowing 1 hit through the first 2 as we move into the third. 2-3-4 hitters up. Kyle Schwarber swings and misses at the sinker. 2 early strikeouts from Schwarber. That will not be uncommon from him. Luis Robert draws a walk, nearly doubled his career high in walks last year as he reaches base for the White Sox for a second time today. Emmanuel Rivera on the ground, should be 2. Keith flips it slowly to short, but Trey Sweeney delivers it to first for an inning-ending double play. We already have disastrously struggled with runners on base. White Sox baseball really is back, guys. Bottom 3, Trey Sweeney goes down looking on the cutter. Good pitch by Thorpe to get the frame started. That'll bring us now to the top of the order. Parker Meadows hits this one high and deep and right. Julks at the track at the wall. It is gone! He just missed it. Parker Meadows scrapes it over the fence, and the Detroit Tigers Strike first, as it's 1-0. First homer of the year for Meadows, one of the more underrated players in all of baseball, as the Tigers strike here on opening day here in the third. Colt Keith now up for the Tigers. Full count, facing off against Thorpe, and he swings at a pitch he should not have, but it might pay off. It's a single into left. Would have been caught if we didn't have Grandpa running over to it. Another base runner there for Detroit, despite a really good pitch from Thorpe. That'll bring up Luis Rengifo now. He finds himself ahead 3-1, and he draws a walk. Thorpe only allowed one base runner through his first trip down the order, but now the first three batters for Detroit all get on. Big spot for Kerry Carpenter, who grounds it to first. Dahlbeck fields it successfully and tags the base. So we do allow the one with the homer by Meadows, but it could have gone worse. The inning started to get away from Thorpe, so it's good that he was able to get that last out and keep the lead at 1 for the Tigers as we move into the fourth. Middle of the order up for the White Sox, and that'll start with Andrew Monasterio, who walked his last time up. Here he grounds it up the middle. What a play! Sweeney, the throw is bubbled by Torkelson. Oddly enough, though, it'll be an E6 on Sweeney rather than Torkelson, who dropped it. I think that's a bad call. If you're not going to call it an error on Torkelson, that should be a base hit. Trey Sweeney's the only reason why it wasn't hit into the outfield. That is also a base hit that will actually be called properly from Dahlbeck. 2 away from Montgomery. He floats it up into left center, and it is caught by Riley Green. Through 4 innings, the White Sox have left 7 runners on base. That's a lot. 7 runners left, no runs scored. As we go to the fourth, my glorious Pookie Boo Boo Bear Riley Green pops it into the Tiger dugout, and Rivera is able to scoop it. A nice grab by Emmanuel Rivera for the first out of the inning. Eugenio Suarez, base hit last time, base hit again. Sends it into the left center gap. Robert looks to get to it quickly because God knows Kyle Schwarber won't. A 1-out double for Suarez, and the Tigers have a runner in scoring position. They're starting to hit the ball a lot better through this second trip down the lineup. Spencer Torkelson now, the former #1 pick, who had a really solid year last year, singles this one into right. Suarez will not test the arm of Julks. He probably would have been safe. The throw was offline, but Detroit decides to play it safe instead. Runners on the corners. Thorpe looking to get out of the jam with 2 away and a 1-2 count for the shortstop, Trey Sweeney. Sweeney to miss on the outside cutter. Good job there by Thorpe to get out of the fourth. I feel like both of these pitchers have not pitched their best games, but they are preventing runs. Only the one from Parker Meadows. Thorpe has already allowed 5 hits. The Tigers are hitting it hard off of him. Skubal, meanwhile, has allowed 3 walks. His control has not been up to snuff. And even though we're not hitting the ball well, we are battling. We are going deep into counts. And it feels like only a matter of time until we're going to strike. Kyle Schwarber, 460 feet into straightaway center. This game is tied at 1. The first of likely many Schwarbombs here in 2026. That ball was belted. Everybody in the park knew it was a homer off the bat. A no-doubter even at Caminero, arguably the most pitcher-friendly park in Major League Baseball. That is about as long of a home run as you'll see, and it's fitting that it's by one of the best power hitters in baseball. Led all of Major League Baseball in homers in 2022 with 46. He only had 32 last year, the lowest home run rate per at-bat of his entire career. Into the bottom of the fifth, Colt Keith gets that one by the diving glove of Montgomery, his second hit of the game, and Detroit gets a runner on here with 1 away. That will bring up the heart of the order. Luis Rengifo, he puts it on the ground. This could be 2. Monasterio to Montgomery, over to Dahlbeck. 4-6-3, double play, tied at 1 into the 6th. And the Tigers are going to make a switch, and I understand it. Tarek Skubal's not pitched his best game, and since it's opening day, you want to be smart with how many innings you're giving, especially for a guy in Skubal who's obviously a free agent expecting a payday this offseason. Bo Brisky will replace him as Brian Ramos rips it into right center, and with these park dimensions, you got to think he wants 3. rounding second, slides into third safely with a triple. Ramos only had 2 triples last year, already on the board with 1 here as Monasterio is fired up on the dugout. Love seeing him being a good teammate. And that'll bring up Kyle Teal trying to bring him in. And he will! Single into right. And it's a 2-1 lead for the White Sox, their first lead of the game. And for Teal, his hit streak goes up to 16. She's almost legal. The White Sox have not had a 20-plus hit streak since 2004. We're going to bring in Jesus Sanchez now off the bench. Belts it to first. It's caught by Torkelson. They don't get the double play. That was close. That ball was hit hard, but Torque with a nice grab. That'll bring us to the number 9 slot, Colson Montgomery, and he will pop this one up behind the plate. Their new free agent signing at catcher, Elias Diaz, will make the play. And we're going to make some switches into the bottom of the 6th. So Emmanuel Rivera will flip from third to first, where Bobby Dahlbeck was. Cody Hosey will go to third, making his big league debut. And Jesus Sanchez will replace Corey Julks in right. As Kerry Carpenter strikes out. Damn, nice dump truck for Drew Thorpe, who, as you can see, we're going to be aggressive with, keep him in the game. Riley Green then goes down on the cutter. Daily double, I guess. 2 away now. That'll bring up Eugenio Suarez, who's 2 for 2 today. He will get the hat trick. Sends it in the corner and left. Schwarber taking his time to get to it. A double for Eugenio Suarez, his second of the game. The leash for Thorpe was a maximum of 3 more batters to start the inning or 1 base runner. And, well, we've now seen both. So we're going to take him out. 5 2/3 to start for Thorpe. Really strong opening start for him. He's only allowed 1 run so far. He did allow a handful of base runners, finishing with a slash line of 5 2/3 innings, 7 hits, 1 walk, 6 strikeouts. Hopefully only 1 earned run, but Enoli Paredes will have to prevent that. Our Rule 5 draft pick who did not play in 2025. He's played really well for multiple teams, and I don't really know why he hasn't really found a home in the big leagues. Well, maybe that's why. Spencer Torkelson with a torque bomb into left. 425 feet to give the Tigers the lead back as it's 3-2. We saw this Sonyan dance way too many times last year. Really good starts from Drew Thorpe where he doesn't get the win because the offense doesn't give him enough run support and the bullpen blows it. Drew Thorpe was in line for the win when he was taken out. 1 pitch later, the team is losing. Elias Diaz now single into center. Robert's not going to try to make the diving catch. We don't want that ball to get by him and roll to the wall. Although if anyone's not going to leg out a triple, it would be Elias Diaz, who has 0 speed. Trey Sweeney now swinging a miss. Paredes gets out of the inning, but not a great first impression. 1, 2, 3 hitters up for the White Sox. That includes the rookie Cody Hosey, set to make his first big league at bat, and it'll be against Jason Foley. The Tigers might have the best back-end bullpen in the league, so I'm a little worried. As for Hosey, our other Rule 5 pick, he swings at a pitch he should not have and grounds it out over to short. Hosey's now 28 years old. He has stayed on top 100 prospect lists for a while, even as old as 26 years old, but he's never gotten a chance in the big leagues until today. Kyle Schwarber rips it into center, his second hit of the game. He did it to 2 strikeouts earlier, but has hit the ball well when he has put the bat to the ball. The problem is nobody puts the bat to the ball less than Schwarber, whether it's a strikeout or a walk. Robert gets that one by Colt Keith. He's had a productive opening day, reaching base 3 times now. We've got 2 runners on base and a great opportunity to tie this game or take the lead back. Emmanuel Rivera, blooper into right. That goes for a hit. 3 consecutive hits for the White Sox, who only had 5 the whole game before that. And we have loaded the bases again. I cannot wait to see how we find a way to score no runs. Andrew Monasterio has the highest clutch rating on the team. If there's anybody we want up here, it is him. Good take on the sinker. He has great plate discipline as well. Now the count is full. A walk would tie the game. Big pitch upcoming for Foley as Monasterio hits it well into center. That'll be more than enough room to score the run. We should tie it at 3. They're going to try to get the out at third, and they do! Double play. Schwarber had not tagged home yet. so nobody ends up scoring, and it remains 3-2. Never a dull moment with this team. There's always a new way to screw it up. The White Sox leave them loaded again with a sacrifice fly turned double play. Kyle Nelson will come out of the bullpen. We got him in the Andrew Vaughn deal from Arizona. He also did not play in 2025, but has been productive mostly with the Diamondbacks throughout his career. Also spent a little bit of time in Cleveland. Parker Meadows swinging a miss on the slider. Great pitch by Nelson. We brought him in here because 4 of the next 5 batters are lefties. The problem is we got to see this guy, Luis Rengifo, who mashes left-handed pitching, and he sends it to the corner and left. That'll go for a 2-out double. Schwarber's throw is way off the mark. That was not even close. I mean, seriously, he'd be a perfect fit to play quarterback for the Bears, wouldn't he? Right down the street. Kyle Nelson will get out of the inning, it looks like, as Carpenter grounds out to second. The almighty Kerry Carpenter versus a left-handed pitcher. Usually does not end well for our good friend Kerry Bonds. Into the 8th now. Tyler Holton is in, might be the best left-handed relief pitcher in baseball. Let me take that back. He is 1.76 ERA, sub-1 whip. He is unbelievably good. He'll face off against Kyle Teal, who bloops this one down. Going to be a tough play. Holton's throw to first is in time. Jesus Sanchez would be next up, and since he cannot hit lefties, we're not going to do that to ourselves, and we're going to bring in one of the 2 remaining position players off the bench. It'll be Charles LeBlanc, who is a little better against righties, but, I mean, anything is better than Jesus Sanchez against the lefty. Puts this one into the air. Meadows is under it, and he will make the play. A really strong inning from Tyler Holton. I wonder who they're going to have closing the 9th, because Holton was their closer last year. He had 47 saves, amongst an American League best. Into the bottom of the 8th, we're going to stick with Nelson for now, being that Riley Green is up. And he puts it on the ground. Monasterio's had a busy day defensively. Even though Monasterio's 0 for 3, I think he's shown some good things in this debut, working the count. He's hit the ball pretty well. Now we're going to make a switch with the reliever. It's Joe Ross, who's a really solid veteran. I think he's our second best reliever outside of Penn Murphy. Solid season last year with the Phillies. He has started in the past, and we could be looking at a Bryce Wilson situation with a guy who maybe we try to turn into a starter one day. Torkelson goes down looking. Ross gets through the 8th. It remains 2-3, and we're going to need to score at least 1 to keep the game alive against, I guess, their new closer in Will Vest, who is in for the save, 11-13 in save ops last year. He's not much worse than Holton, 2.27 ERA, 1.07 whip. 9-1-2 hitters due up. That's not a bad group at all for the White Sox. Colson Montgomery will get us started. Oppo Taco into left. That should go for extras. Montgomery waltzes into second with a double. The White Sox get a runner aboard with nobody out in scoring position, and we'll see if we can bring him home. Cody Hosey now puts it on the ground. Colt Keith will block it. Throw to first. Not in time. First career big league hit for Cody Hosey. It did not get out of the infield, but hey, a hit's a hit. His career batting average of 500 is better than every major league great you can think of ever. The tying run is at third. The go-ahead run is at first. What a spot for our new star, Kyle Schwarber. He hits this one high into center, and it's pretty deep. Got some carry. At the track. At the wall. It is caught! Meadows is able to make the play. Now we will score Montgomery. We'll tie the game. It's a good at-bat for Kyle Schwarber, but deep down he's thinking if that ball had another 4 inches on it, it's gone. Granted, 4 inches is a lot, but at any other ballpark, that's a home run. With 1 away and the potential winning run on, it's fitting that the White Sox ground into a double play to end the inning off of Luis Robert. But I guess the inning could have gone worse. We did tie the game. We're still alive, but man, with the 2 runners on base and nobody out, and with how well Kyle Schwarber hit that one ball, it feels like we could have gotten way more than 1, but at least the game is still alive, I suppose. Joe Ross is going to stay in for the bottom of the 9th. 8-9-1 hitters due up for Detroit. That'll start with Elias Diaz, one of the better contact-hitting catchers in baseball, and he goes down on the fastball. Good start for Joe Ross. Trey Sweeney now, he's had a few strikeouts in this one. Full count. Draws a walk. They're calling that pitch a ball. I don't know about that one, partner. We're going to make a switch here, being that, again, 4 of their next 5 hitters are lefties. So Cam Boozer will come into the game trying to keep it tied going into potentially extra innings. We will start off with the leadoff man, Parker Meadows, who homered back in the 3rd, and he might have robbed Kyle Schwarber of one in the 9th. Sends it into no man's land. Robert's not going to be able to make that play, and it's going to roll all the way to the wall. Sweeney gets by 3rd, heads for the plate, and we're not going to have enough time for the relay. The Tigers walk it off. They win it 4-3. Robert took a bad angle on that ball, but he didn't really have a choice. The only way we would have been able to make a play there is if he caught the ball on the fly. If that ball was going to drop, Sweeney was always going to score, and of course, that's exactly what ends up happening with the walk-off double by Parker Meadows, who had a terrific game for the Tigers. I thought our offense battled. We were able to work some counts early, and then from the 5th inning onwards, we hit the ball quite well. Schwarber had a great debut. Homer drove in a pair. Drew Thorpe with a solid start. The bullpen, though, was a little shaky. Feels a lot like last year. The Tigers hit the ball fairly well. Homers for Meadows and Torkelson. Good but not great start for Tarek Skubal's standards. Their elite bullpen was honestly a little underwhelming, other than Demon Holton. But the Tigers get the win nonetheless. And now we're going to get through these next 8 games, all on the road, all against World Series contenders. Not going to be an easy stretch for our lowly Chicago White Sox. So here in Game 2 against the Tigers, we've got another chance to win. We're up 8-7, a huge game from the offense. Brian Ramos leading the way, 3 for 4, 2 homers, and he's driven in 4 runs, while Penn Murphy looks for the save. Eugenio Suarez into left. LeBlanc will not make the diving play. Torkelson rounding 3rd, headed home, and the Tigers tie it at 8. Penn Murphy blows his first save opportunity of the year, and the Tigers now have a runner in scoring position to win. Wenzel Perez will replace him as a pinch runner, while Justin Henry Malloy looks to be the hero. Single into center. Perez rounding 3rd, and there's going to be no chance for a play at the plate. The Tigers walk it off again for a 2nd game in a row. Justin Henry Malloy, who drove in 4 runs here in his season debut, is the hero. What a game for Jahan, and what a disappointing start to the year for the White Sox, who now have 2 heartbreaking losses to open the season. We hit the ball really well, though. Ramos really stood out. Luis Robert homered, 2 hits for Teal, upping the hit streak to 17 games. Not a great start for Noah Schultz. Paredes and Murphy also were not great. The Tigers had 17 hits in this game. That is a lot. So now we're looking to avoid the sweep. Kyle Teal's hitting streak is on the line, and it's against Brant Herter, an all-star last year. He might be the only guy who challenges Tyler Holton as the best reliever in the league. Teal up the middle, deflected by Colt Keith, and the throw to first is not in time. The hit streak continues for Kyle Teal, up to 18 games. And I heard a loud sigh from Carl Malone somewhere. I believe that is his least favorite number. The Tigers would win it 4-2, though. Brant Herter would dominate through the rest of the inning, and our opening series ends in the hands of a sweep. This was Jonathan Cannon's first start of the year, and unfortunately, he did not look a whole lot like his new 94 overall rating. Low strikeouts, he allowed a pair of walks along with 6 hits. In terms of other odd performers who got boosts or punishments, Jackson Holliday went 1 for 14, being a 99 across the board. Did not take advantage of his high rating, and he will go back down to a 79. The Nationals result is kind of funny. So they scored 1 run in their first 3 games, and then Jake Irvin started in the last game. Irvin's per 9s went down by 20 for this one start, and the Nationals still won by 8. Irvin only faced off against 2 batters, though. He walked the first, struck out the second, and he got hurt. A blister on his finger, and then the Nationals took him out of the game. They found a hack to the system, and give them credit, it worked. They won the game, and all Irvin had to do was start once, and then his ratings would go back to what they were. Kyle Teal's hitting streak is on the line here in this first game against the Dodgers. We are winning 7-6. in LA, looking for win number 1 on the year, as Teal gets the green light up 3-0. I figured in this spot it'd be appropriate to swing with this count, and unfortunately, he grounds out to short. He would get one more chance, though, in the 9th, and it's not like he hasn't had a productive game, 2 walks, and has scored twice. It's now 9-7. We would get a 2-run double by Colson Montgomery. Mookie Betts would cut into the lead with a solo shot as Teal swings and misses at the curveball. Now, he's going to make it over to first, but the hitting streak likely ends here unless he gets an at-bat, say, in extra innings or something. And unfortunately, he would not. The Dodgers would walk it off, and we are now 0-4 on the season with 3 walk-off losses. This team feels like it is due for a win with all of these heartbreaking defeats. We're staying in these close games, though, against really good teams. We're 0-4, but our run differential is only -5. We hit the ball really well again, 9 runs, 12 hits. Jesus Sanchez went 3 for 5 with a homer, driving in 4. But the pitching and defense really struggled. 2 errors for Brian Ramos. The pitching was a mess. Kyle Teal's hitting streak, meanwhile, stops at 18. You know who else stops at 18? Wander Franco. We're in danger of losing another stinger. We're down to our final out, trailing 4-2 in the top of the 9th, but the bases are loaded. The number 1 guy we would want up here is this one, Luis Robert. He's got a full count against Brusdar Graterol, and he hits this one high and pretty deep into center. Tommy Edman at the track, at the wall. It is gone! A grand slam for Luis Robert! And the White Sox take the lead as it's 6-4. Down to our final out, down to our final strike, but our superstar, Luis Robert, comes up big. Chicago takes the lead and would ultimately win the game. Finally, we win one. This time, it's us who comes from behind to defeat the Dodgers. An exciting one here in LA. Luis Robert with the game-winning grand slam. Brian Ramos had 3 hits himself in this one, but he had another error as well. That's 3 in the last 2 games. Prelander Berroa made his first career start. Was not particularly good, but the bullpen was fantastic. 6 scoreless for Ohtani. They don't win, though. We would lose the last game against the Dodgers and are now 1-5. Scoreless here in this 7th. Noah Schultz, 6 scoreless innings. And the bases are loaded again for Luis Robert. Not a grand slam this time. What a play, though, at second. Throw to first is in time. An impressive snag by Christian Arroyo, keeping the White Sox off the board. Chas McCormick would hit a 2-run homer in the bottom half of the frame. And now we go to the top of the 8th where the bases are loaded again. Andrew Monasterio in as a pinch hitter for Colson Montgomery. First pitch he sees, belts it into the left center gap. This will at minimum tie the game, if not give us the lead. And sure enough, the White Sox would clear the bases. A 3-run double for Andrew Monasterio off the bench. And the White Sox are now up 3-2. Look at us coming alive when the bases are loaded. You love to see it. Emmanuel Rivera draws a walk, and now there's 2 aboard and 2 away for Kyle Schwarber, who's played pretty well overall so far for us. The count is full for him as well. We know how good he is at drawing walks. Instead, he belts this one into right. The outfield was playing deep, and because of that, we're going to bring home Monasterio, and that'll make it 4-2 in favor of the White Sox. Rivera, meanwhile, makes it over to third as Schwarber is fired up, and the Astros are going to make a pitching change. Sean Dubin is in, looking to help them get the dub in Houston. Get it? No, okay. 2-2 for Luis Robert. He puts it on the ground, and that one gets by Arroyo as it's now 5-2. A huge inning. All of these runs coming with 2 outs, by the way. An impressive 2-out rally from the Sox, and they're looking to add more possibly with Brian Ramos, who's hitting .400 this year, and he draws a walk. It's been a weird year for Ramos because he's hitting the ball really well, but he had 4 errors in the Dodgers series alone. His defense has been abysmal. Kyle Teal with the bases loaded, swinging a miss on the cutter. So to answer the question, no, our team is not magically good with the bases loaded. But we score 5 here in this inning, and luckily the bullpen did not completely mess it up. Win number 2 On the season for the Sox, we win this one 5-2. All of our runs coming into the 8th. Andrew Monasterio off the bench delivers a pinch hit double. He had another hit in his next at bat. Jesus Sanchez was productive, 2 hits, 2 walks. He's been really good so far. And then Noah Schultz, 6 1/3, only allowing 2 runs. He's been impressive up to this point for the White Sox as well. We would split the last 2 games. I want to look at this one here against the Dodgers because we really struggled. Drew Thorpe, 2 innings, 7 runs allowed, 6 earned. Hopefully, that's just a fluke. I think given the year that he had last year, I would think it probably will be. We did have a really good start from Jonathan Cannon in that second game against the Astros that we won, and that's where we're going to leave off. Again, I said that we're going to split April into 2 parts. Only 2 road series next episode, but still a really, really hard schedule for the 3-6 Chicago White Sox. Hope you guys enjoyed nonetheless. Make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Peace out.